panel is open to questions that you might have. Yes, Sandra.
I have a question about polytechnic graduates and their access to university education locally. Despite the ministry increasing the number of university places, and a lot of it has gone to polytechnic graduates in recent years. Only about 15% of polytechnic cohort gets places in the local universities, with the SIAT racking up the number of places and institutions that come here. What do you think the percentage will go up?
With the SIAT and the new university, because I'm not excluding polytechnic graduates from going to new university, I think the good ones, if they're very good, if they meet the admission standards, I think the university will be available to them as well. It will move up to 1 in 5, I think, of polytechnic graduates.
1 in 5? So 20%?
Yes. I think there is... we would like to increase the number of places for all Singaporeans to obtain degrees. But as other systems have shown us, that's not the only factor that you need to consider. You can overdo it and produce a lot of degree holders but have graduate unemployment, or degrees that are not valued by industry nor employers at large. And that's a situation sometimes in certain European countries. And in fact, if you know, recently, even a previous Australian Prime Minister was exhorting people to be plumbers rather than go to universities, because there was an excess of capacity without taking reference from what the economy needs and whether these degrees are valued. Because you can basically become a degree churning mill without looking at these considerations. So I think it's very important for us, at the same time that we help Singaporeans obtain degrees, I think Singaporeans also value a degree that is valued by others, whether it's in academic quality or industrial relevant degrees, or preferably both, obviously. So as I said, we can't compete on numbers, because China, India and Vietnam will produce large hordes of degree holders, as they do now. The number of Chinese engineering graduates, well, probably they produce about 300,000 to 400,000 engineering degree holders a year. Numbers is not security, it is quality. So for our landscape, for our Singaporeans, as I said, SIAT will bring in reputable foreign universities, which our polytechnic graduates already have access to, but we think that if we bring them in here, there will be reduced costs, they're able to do it, and I think that will improve their that will help them a lot. And also because it's open to those with working experience, it will be available to a larger cohorts of polytechnic graduates. In other words, it's not just this year's or next year's cohort. You can decide to enter these through SIAT, get these foreign university degrees, at a longer time scale after you graduate. SMS might have some views on that.
I think I would augment the Minister's point. I think it's not just about creating degree opportunities per se, but creating pathways which are responsive to industry trends. So I think if you look at the remit of this new Institute of Applied Technology, I think the key thing is really that it's going to be responsive to the trends in the industry. And that is both determined by what is happening in the Singapore economy, but also the Singapore economy in connection with what is happening in the region, because we are a hub, and many of the graduates we produce, whether they are diploma holders or degree holders, will go on to take on regional responsibilities and beyond. So I think that is the way we want to shape it in response to industry trends and needs. So I think that, building on what our polytechnics already have, which is a very strong foundation, I think that will make for a very compelling value proposition for our students when they take up courses offered by this new effort.
Yes, I'm thinking about the private education provider. Now, we have many this private education. They provide these foreign universities courses. So, what's their future?
Well, I'm sure there'll be a future for them, and I think there is room for when SIAT comes in. That there's a room for both. Yes, it is positioned, if you like, not quite like our autonomous universities in the sense that it's partnering foreign universities, but that's intentional. That's to elevate or to bring in very top quality foreign university partners. I think on the whole, for our educational hub image, it will be a plus. Because then Singapore can be seen as quality. And together with the private education bill, which SMS Iswaran will be tabling and moving in Parliament, the idea is that we have to elevate it. And in the last few months, we've seen what happens when you don't have a tighter regulatory regime, that you can actually pull down the rest. So I think overall it's a plus. I would like perhaps the Polytechnic principals, if they have any view on this, whether when we bring in these foreign partners, what will happen to the private sector, and whether you think, what the changes will mean for your Polytechnic graduates. Maybe Han Chung and Neiman.
I think you look at what the private education providers offer. There are courses which are probably more general legal and business management. And I think because there's a low investment, they don't invest a lot in infrastructure and laboratories and solutions. But I think the intention of SIA is really in science technology, the flat technology area, where we believe that we have to make substantial investments in any of these facilities. So I think there is enough room for everyone to play a part in the entire education landscape. So I don't think it will affect the private sector providers substantially the operations here.
I think I have the same view as well. The types of programs that the private education providers at the moment they are providing likely to be programs that the SIAT may not get into. So I think those programs that SIAT will be looking at are those that the polys will play a very significant part in and contribute significantly to the delivery and design. So I think these two are two different groups of courses. I think there's a place for them.
That's a very good point. Thank you. It's very few private providers start out with that kind of business plan, where it's, as you say, high cost investments, because it takes a lot of money to build the labs, digital media animation, IT, it's capital intensive. So if you look at the shape of it, government is willing to commit to these, and we're actually leveraging off existing facilities in the polytechnics and then adding to it, because I said we'll add capacity. So that's a good point. I think there's complementary, and we're filling a space, which is why we want the SIAT to cater to the majority of polytechnic graduates who come out with engineering, IT degrees and science degrees.
So this SIAT will not only attract poly graduates, would be also attracting foreign students?
Yes, if they pay fees, yes. I would not want to exclude them. I think it makes sense if it's high quality, and with the caveat that the students must be of equivalent standards of those who are admitted. Yes, Sandra.
Currently, you have 6 FSIs that are here partnering with polys. Do you see the current 6 coming under, will it be brought under SIAT? Also, can you give some idea of what some of these foreign institutions that we're looking at are bringing in? You talk about them being reputable. You mentioned the Russell Group, for example, which includes Imperial. Are we looking at big names like that? Because, we've named MIT the best engineering school for fusion. So, do we have something of similar capacity?
For obvious reasons, we don't want to name specific ones because negotiations are ongoing. But I can give some general points and ask perhaps Ng Eng to talk a bit of that. It would be, we started from a point of view of which are among all the universities that our polytechnic graduates do go to now, which are the best, top 10, top 20 lists. So the idea is, as I said, SIAT's mission is to really facilitate this, and that list we're working on. So that gives you a sense. Yes, we have some polytechnic graduates that go to Imperial and top, but obviously that's not the center of gravity. The center of gravity is a very good university, but I would say that it's a different animal to try to court MIT, which is suitable for the new university. That's why it has to be sized that way specifically. But if you're talking about 2,000 full-time degree places and 1,005 part-time degree places, it'll be a very good university, something that's worthy of our polytechnic graduates, but that's the level that we're pitching at. And for details, I think maybe it's Ng Eng, you want to share some of the negotiations that are ongoing without giving our store away.
If I may add to what the Minister has said, I think quite apart from these being high quality, reputable universities of very good academic standing, I think industry reputation is also a key factor. So indeed, I think that's why we consult widely, focus group discussions first with potential employers. And I think the universities that we will eventually have partnerships with must be those whose strengths are in those areas that we've identified as programs to be offered by SIT and who are recognized by the market or by industry as being strong in those areas.
If I can help you, I've named two examples, and those will be roughly where the quality would be. They're very good universities, and the industry respects them.
For this FSI, the one criteria for choosing the courses, the niche area is not offered by our local universities. Would that be also the cases in the future?
No. So as I said, we have revisited that thinking. We basically want to offer the main disciplines in the polytechnics. And the reason was if you like, a very student-centered approach. Polytechnic graduates were telling us, I'm already doing it. I come out after 3 years of a diploma, I work 1-2 years, and then now sometimes I can't get into the public universities, or if I can get in, I have to spend 4 years. And some of them on their own say, well, I can get it in 2 in a very good foreign university. Actually, you know, if the best scenario for me is that if I could do the degree here and get that degree in Singapore. So we looked and we said, this is a sensible proposal. It would save them costs in terms of having to pay for board and lodging overseas. But is there a persuasive argument for government to subsidize this? Government has agreed, because we think that there is value in these degrees, in industry relevant and relevant for the job, and so there will be further cost savings. So because of that, we are now expanding this whole initiative so that polytechnic students can benefit.
So by year 2015, the scenario of the landscaping in our tertiary education would be very colorful, right? They are the competitors to our local universities as well.
Well, I mentioned peaks. I would keep the peaks rather than being colourful. But Ms. Warren might want to say a few words on that.
No, but I think you're right. It will offer diversity. And I think that is the objective. Diversity, but of high quality. So that whichever path you choose, it's something that you feel that meets your needs. And we are also confident that it is structured in a way which will be relevant to the economy.
Good point.
I think that's the way we want to do.
Well, I would say that, and I'm simplifying things. So, for example, a polytechnic graduate, or even a JC graduate, or both, right? Some may decide, I really want to work, and I don't want to be a professor. I want the industry relevant, and I want to gain skills that way, and I don't mind getting a degree if I need to future in the masters or just upgrading courses. Whereas someone else, again, whether from polys or JC, says, well, I do want to be an academic, and I want to pursue that pathway. So beyond the peaks of excellence, there is a diversity to meet differing needs, because we recognize that the world is changing, that it may not make sense for somebody who doesn't want to be an academic, say, to take 4 years off after his polytechnic education, which was really, he's employable. His employer says, I'm willing to sponsor you for 2 years, but I really need you back on the workforce with a degree. And many employers tell me that, but the chap says, I have to go to university, it will take me 4 years. So it's very disruptive. So I think this will add options. And a priori, I'm neutral. If somebody with the capability wants to decide between publicly funded university, the new university, SIAT, it's a good outcome from government's point of view and MOE's point of view.
And I'm also thinking for our ITE students. So now for our poly graduates, they have so many channels for their further studies. What about our ITE students? Do you also thinking of setting our 6 polytechnic to recruit them in the future? Would that be the case?
Our polytechnics still have capacity now. And I would say that, yes, one of our goals in the new education landscape is to increase the proportion of ITE students going to polytechnics. We think that the number will increase to probably 1 in 5 of ITE polytechnic graduates.
1 in 4.
1 in 4.
Now it's 1 in 5.
1 in 5, we will increase to 1 in 4. We think that they are capable, while keeping standards of the polytechnics, they are doing better. And we think that 1 in 4 ITE graduates can go to polytechnics, and from there, the ones who do well can go into degrees if their jobs need it and if they feel inclined.
So you don't need to have 6 universities?
We have enough capacity, yes.